Thank you very much, Nelson and Rawia and everyone who's here today. Honored guests, friends, and colleagues, I'll begin by quoting Thomas Sankara, former Burkina Faso president, and a very notable Pan-African theorist who was assassinated at the young age of 38. He said, "I would like to leave behind me the conviction that if we maintain a certain amount of caution and organization, we deserve victory. You cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. In this case, it comes from nonconformity, the courage to turn your back on the old formulas, the courage to invent the future. It took the madmen of yesterday for us to be able to act with extreme clarity today. I want to be one of those madmen. We must dare to invent the future." I feel deeply privileged to stand here before you on this day, Saturday, the 4th of June, 2011, as we take part in the first of what hopes to be a series of inaugural conferences on Pan-Africanism at Oxford. Being here in England, far from home, is not always an easy thing. The feelings of loneliness and isolation you might sometimes feel, as well as the experience of embracing a new culture, can be life-changing and shape you in very interesting ways. And it's not always a bad thing or in bad ways. For a lot of us from Africa, for instance, Africa is always at the forefront of our minds, possibly in a way that it would never be were we actually back home. I know this to be true from conversations I've had with you, some members of the Africa Society, and African students from other universities. The distance from home does a funny thing. It actually makes you concentrate a lot more on Africa than if you were there. And so to all people of the continent, I salute you. This conference hopes to collate and amalgamate those energies, to bring them together in a way that we can have some impact in the continent. As we meet here, we're also joined by people from different parts of the world. People from as far as China, the USA, Belgium, the United Kingdom, people who study Africa and are interested in Africa, many of whom share the same passion for it and are eager to see the continent achieve its potential. And so to these wonderful friends of Africa, I want to say thank you. Africa needs all the friends it can get at this time, and your interest, your belief, and indeed your love for Africa and its people is much appreciated. And hence, please feel very much at home here today. The idea for this conference was hatched about a year ago as Nelson Opong, General Secretary, and I started thinking about how we could take advantage of being in England to bring African students together and revive the Pan-African dream. And we're just absolutely, extremely staggered and very excited that this day is just actually coming to pass. And we thank you all who are here today for bravely responding to the call. I say bravely because this is something AfriSoc, the Africa Society, has not attempted to do in the past, to the best of my knowledge, and because what you're responding to is something that critics might term a mirage or a useless dream. But as well, I want to remind us here that every single great event happening, creation or work, is preceded by a dream. And hence the people that are here have bought into the dream of Africa truthfully and genuinely uniting, and giving its citizens a decent standard of living, of enabling its people to arrive at their highest potentials, and indeed for the continent to make its contribution to the world without exploitation, without oppression, without injustice weighing it down. Now, unfortunately, this oppression, injustice, poverty is a present narrative about Africa. Africa is the richest continent in the world. But thanks to the divide and rule tactic that still happens under the thumb of former colonial powers, corporate groups bent on extracting its minerals, companies interested in oil, of course with the collaboration of some of Africa's rulers, it means that African countries are the poorest in the world and African people live in some of the most indignified conditions. This image of Africa as depraved, distressed, and disturbed, and as a depraved, distressed, and disturbed continent haunts you everywhere you go. As an African person, the world is not your oyster as much it's not as much oyster as much as you'd want it to be. Everywhere you go, you carry the African label, which a lot of the time is still associated with poverty, with some sort of illegitimacy, something to be suspicious about or pitied. The airport experience, as a random example, is one that many might be familiar with, where your passport needs extra scrutiny, where you might be grilled a little longer, where you can never shake off that hint of panic that grips you when you arrive at Heathrow. Will I be sent back this time? Did you forget your TB X-ray? But it's not really about the indignities that the African elite face, because we are privileged and we do have opportunities that a lot of Africans do not have. But it's not about that. It's the reality of the situation back home that's most harrowing. In this day and age, it's inexcusable that people in Africa die of famine, that people die of curable diseases, that deaths occur due to lack of health facilities and amenities. And we need to make it clear as Africa society, as students from other universities, from Africa, as people interested in Africa, that the manner in which we've gotten used to where life is cheap in Africa, that this state of affairs needs to come to an end. It's over. We have had it. African souls must be taken seriously by everyone. African people themselves, African leaders, and the rest of the world. And we will police this if it must be done, if it must needs be done. We are discontent with the state of affairs and declare today to be a turning point in the continent's history. Friends, I do very much believe that our seeking the answers to the challenges facing Africa gives us an opportunity to actually examine and interrogate the state of the world today. Who runs it? Why is it run in this manner? Is every soul around the world allowed to attain its full capacity and potential? What are we here for anyway? Now, of course, these are big questions that I don't suppose we'll answer today, but I suspect that resolving some of the challenges facing Africa will force us to look out and seek to give answers to some of these other issues facing the world.